MedMom Wednesday webinars. I'm your host for the night. I'm Dr. Tippy Tanchanco. I'm a developmental and behavioral pediatrician, and I'm the director of MedMom Institute for Human Development. So our Wednesday webinars are our way of reaching out to you, dear parents, and for us to deliver timely and relevant topics in child development from our experts. So our topic for tonight is food and feeding. So lahat po tayo kumakain, di ba? Na-enjoy ba natin to? So this is something that we'd like to help you with tonight. So we want to discuss healthy habits for children and families during quarantine. So tonight, we are joined by two experts in the field. So our first expert is Dr. Kaye Napalinga. Dr. Kaye is a developmental and behavioral pediatrician, and she has special training in feeding. So Dr. Kaye has been working with children with feeding difficulties since 2012. So Dr. Kaye, good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Tippy. Thanks for that wonderful introduction.
Ayan. So si Dr. Kaye po ang DevPed natin tonight nakasama. And then with us is another expert, Mr. Xavier Calibo, who has a degree in nutrition from UP Los Baños. Xavier worked in the food industry a couple of years back, but now he manages children's concerns about feeding. And he does this through dietary analysis and patient education. So Xavier is also practicing functional nutrition. Hi, Save!
Hello, good evening. Thanks for having me.
Ayan. So, maganda po yung pag-uusapan natin tonight, no? So, mag-share po muna siguro si Doc Kaye ng some points. Pero siguro reminders lang po, if you have questions or if you have concerns na gusto nyo itanong or parang, oh my gosh, ano ba gagawin ko dito? Naka-lockdown kami pero merong ganitong problem about feeding yung anak ko. Type nyo lang po. So we're live in Facebook, or if you joined us through Zoom, you can use our chat boxes para to put in your questions. Sige, Doc Kaye.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Tippy. So we want this discussion to be very interactive. So just, type in your questions on the chat box. But just to go over the outline for tonight, we're going to discuss 4 main points. We're going to walk you down the road to healthy eating, a little bit on good nutrition, picky eaters, and then we're going to give you some quarantine tips. So this slide, as you can see, feeding really is a journey. So itong arrow na to, ito yung buhay natin. And if you look here, contrary to what we think, feeding or our knowledge about food really starts even before we are born. So we first learn about flavors through the mother's diet, no? Yung sense of smell natin, tsaka yung sense of taste by 28 or during the 3rd trimester, it's already well developed. So lahat ng kinakain ni mommy, magpapass on yan sa amniotic fluid, matitikman yan ni baby.
Wow, nakaka-influence ba yan sa baby, Doc Kaye?
Yes, because yung mga flavors na natikman ni baby, they've found studies na mas ina-accept yun ng children pag mas malaki na sila. So specifically, yung pinatikim nila dun sa isang study, carrots. So the more kumain ng carrots yung mommy, by the time pinatikim niya yung child niya nung toddler ng carrots, mas ina-accept na niya yung carrots.
Okay, so healthy eating, buntis pa lang. Importante pala yun, no? Okay.
So as soon as the child is born, so the first interaction with flavors is through breastfeeding, no? So aside from that, one of the most important things from the newborn period until infancy is the creation of what we call a feeding relationship. In scientific terms, we call it attachment, no? So yung attachment, ito yung long-term na emotional bond that the infant has with a caregiver. Pero hindi lang siya magsa-stop doon sa bond, no? Yung attachment, dapat mag-lead siya sa tinatawag na attunement. Attunement, ibig sabihin, attuned si mommy sa needs ng baby, tapos yung baby naman, attuned siya sa response ng mom. So feeding, if I correlate that with feeding is supposed to be reciprocal and interactive. So yung eye contact ng breastfeeding, importante yon. if the mother talks to the child while feeding the child, that's very important. Now, through this attunement, doon din natututunan ng mother yung hunger and fullness cues ng baby. So, kahit sanggol pa sila, they're actually communicating. Contrary to what we think na, o yung iyak, yun lang yung way nila ng pag-communicate. That's not true because they actually have facial expressions, they use their hands to communicate, and it's important for the parents to really observe and determine these hunger and fullness cues.
So, Doki, pwede ba yon? Bawat bata, pwede bang iba yung cues na ma-manifest nila? Kasi di ba minsan magkakapatid sila pero iba-iba yung reaction nila to certain cues din from the parents.
Yes, pwedeng iba-iba kasi katulad natin, iba-iba yung personalities natin. We have what we call different temperaments. So, yung iba mas bugnutin, yung iba mas chill, yung iba parang mas ilag. So, depende din sa bata or depende din sa sanggol. Now, let's move on. So, newborn to infancy, very important yung feeding relationship, no? So, as the child grows older, dito sa infancy na part, the infant starts to learn about his body. Ito na yung nagsa-start na silang gumapang. So, if you look here, body movement becomes important. And because movement becomes important, posture and alignment is critical para mas ma-enjoy niya yung feeding. So, sabi nila, 'di ba, if I ask you if this is a myth or a fact, is feeding the body's priority? Feeding ba, breathing ba, or posture? So, which among the three is the body's priority? So, obviously, it's breathing, 'di ba? So, breathing is the body's priority, and then second is posture, no? So, imagine niyo yung sarili niyo, mag-slouch kayo sa upuan ninyo ngayon, and then try to drink water while slouching. It's so hard to swallow that food if the child's posture and alignment is really bad.
Right. So, Doc, paano yun? Halimbawa, di ba meron tayong mga babies, minsan parang ang lambot-lambot pa nila. Or halimbawa, hindi pa nila kaya yung ulo nila. So, ma-expect ba natin na okay yung pag-feed nila?
So, yun yung classic example, Doc Tippy, na mahirapan tayong mag-feed sa kanila. So, iisipin natin, bakit kaya iyak to ng iyak pag fini-feed ko or bakit laging nasasamid? Yun pala, yung posture nila, hindi nila ma-hold. So, hindi nila malunok ng mabuti.
Okay. So, important pala yun, no? Kasi minsan hindi natin pinapansin. Ang goal lang natin, mapakain lang yung bata, pero parang tagilid pala or ang lambot-lambot pala niya. Okay.
Oo. So kaya din early intervention, kunyari with a physical therapist, is very important. So looking at body movement again, aside from the core and the big movements, natututunan na rin nilang galawin yung mga kamay nila, so yung fine motor skills. So this is also the best time from infancy to toddler. This is the best time for them to learn about feeding skills. Paggamit ng kamay nila para pagsubo, paggamit ng utensils. So, karaniwan, Dr. P, yung mga parents natin, pinipigilan nila, 'di ba, mas gusto nila subuan na lang, pinipigilan nilang kumain. So, but this is actually the best time for them to try, touching that spoon and scooping and dipping. Kasi ito yung time na kinikilala nila yung katawan nila.
Right.
Yan. So, akyat tayo ngayon sa toddler to preschool. Ang toddler to preschool age, ito yung age na ini-expect natin na master na nila yung katawan nila. So, kaya na nilang maglakad. For some of them, nakakatakbo na sila. So, kaya din sila mahilig mag-explore. 'Di ba? Sabi nila, toddlers are meant to explore. So, and because they love to explore, this is the best time to teach them about food through exploration. Meron tayong tinatawag na food play. Pabayaan ninyong madumihan yung mukha nila, mag-set kayo ng time na, pinaglalaruan nyo lang yung pagkain. Because, learning about food is really a whole sensory experience. So, for example, when I say it's a sensory experience, imagine yourself going to a foreign country. Mag-imagine na lang tayo ngayon kasi naka-ECQ tayong lahat. So kunyari pupunta tayong Turkey. Turkey talaga.
Okay, bakit naman turkey ang napili mo, Doc? Meron bang anything special about turkey?
Ay, wala po tayong alam tungkol sa Turkey.
Okay, sige.
Ay, alam, ako wala. So,
Okay.
I don't know anything about Turkish food. So, what do I do when I want to get to know Turkish food? Titingnan-tingnan ko muna, aamoy-amoyin ko, bago ko pa kainin. So, kids are the same. Before they even accept that food, they have to learn about that food. Okay. So,
Ginagamit nila yung senses nila, di ba? As many senses as they can.
yes, like when you say as many senses as they can, just imagine eating an orange. Nakita mo yung orange, kulay orange. Pag binuksan mo yung orange, naamoy mo yung smell ng orange, bago mo pa siya kainin. So marami nang na-stimulate na sensations, no? So it says here, they learn about food through exploration. And that is why this is the best time to let them be your assistant, to play with them and explore the food. And also, this is the time when they learn about habits, no? Yung tinatawag natin sa developmental pedia, habitual ways of responding. Sabi nila, habits are formed early. Totoo yun. Well, habits are formed during this age. And this is why this is also the best time to, put in your feeding routines, no? And then teach about, good habits. Ito yung wag kayo mag-TV sa hapagkainan. Kasi dito sila natututo ng good habits.
Right.
So as they grow older, punta naman tayo sa school age. School age children are concrete thinkers. Pag sinabing concrete thinkers, mahilig sila sa facts. Mahilig sila sa scientific facts, no? So this is why this is the best time to teach them about food science, food education. So yesterday, Xavier and I were talking about good food and bad food. Don't label the food. Just, I think it's really good for them to understand na there's no such thing as good or bad, but it's better to teach them that you have to eat it in moderation, something like that. And after they learn that, when they enter adolescence, ano na to application na lang to ng lahat ng natutunan nila throughout their lives. So it's really a journey, no? It's really a long journey and a process. So yon. So some of the things we do with kids, which emphasizes these points or these learning activities. One of the most important are feeding routines, no? So, 'di ba, I'm sure you've read on Facebook na ngayong ECQ, it's really important to put in schedules and routines for our children. It's the same with feeding. Bakit importante yung feeding routines? Kasi ito yung mga bagay na nakakasanayan nila, and if they learn it early, they take it with them until they grow old. So itong second column, example lang yan ng food exploration. Pabayaan nyo silang madumihan, huwag kayong punas ng punas.
Okay, meron tayong question. So, yung mga questions natin, as much as possible, tatanong na rin natin. So, yung question dito, how do you differentiate kung habit na ba to or parang nag-explore lang yung bata? So, when do you allow exploration versus food is for eating, it's not for playing? Meron ba yung line that you have to draw?
Yes, it is also important to set limits during actual meal times, no? Food play can be on a separate occasion. During meal times, iba po yung talagang pinaglalaruan nyo lang yung pagkain. Iba rin po yung kumakain siya tapos nadudumihan siya. Kasi habang nasa hapagkainan, kung kumakain yung baby tapos habang kumakain siya nadudumihan siya, that's not really food play, that's really eating, no? But if during the meal, if the child starts to throw the food or binabato-bato na niya, then maybe you have to stop and think, bakit? Kasi baka hindi siya gutom, no? Maraming factors that come into play.
Yeah. Pero siguro important din to remember na especially when the kids are very young, parang you really cut them some slack. 'Diba?
Mm.
Parang minsan hinahayaan natin talaga hawakan yung food nila or
Mm.
parang move it around the table. Parang yun, no?
Oo, wag masyadong strict kasi nga yun yung time na nag-e-explore sila.
Mm-mm.
So, I'll highlight the third column which is yung cue conditioning, no? Yung tinatawag na feeding rituals. Minsan kasi I get patients, Doc Tippy, wherein sasabihin ng mom na, Doc, tinatawag ko na para kumain pero ayaw sumunod. Tingnan nyo din, kasi baka yung child, sobra siyang immersed dun sa activity na ginagawa niya, tapos bigla nyong hahatakin para kumain, hindi pa siya nakokondisyon. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng cue conditioning. Parang kailangan i-announce, bigyan nyo ng warning in short, i-announce nyo muna, and then parang may ritual, maghuhugas kayo ng kamay, patutulungin nyo sila mag-set. So parang nakokondisyon siya, and then that's the only time you sit down to eat.
Right. Doc, ano ibig sabihin ng family style service?
So yung family style service, it's one strategy that we use for the child to be exposed to more foods. Ito yung nung unang panahon yung ipapasa nyo yung ulam tapos kukuha ka and then ipapasa mo. So the more food you pass around, the more exposed the child gets to different types of foods. So less yung chance na magiging picky siya about food kasi nasasanay na siya. We'll talk about that later some more.
Okay.
Okay, speaking of nasasanay siya, ito yung tinatawag na repeated exposure. When you're dealing with feeding difficulties or with picky eaters, repetition is really at the heart of food education. Sabi nga nila, kailangan at least 25 to 50 times mo na exposed to different
Dami pala.
food,
Okay.
different preparations, bago mo sabihin na ayaw na niya talaga. Tapos, hindi lang ganun kasimple yon. Kailangan, tinitingnan mo din yung reaction niya. Nasuka ba? Sobra bang naduwal? Or parang umuwi lang? Or okay naman, chill lang siya. May mga ganun din na tinitingnan mo.
Doc, I have another question here from one of our audience. Actually, nakakatuwa nga yung comment niya. Yung turkey daw kaya mo pinili kanina kasi masarap. Pero yung question niya, meron siyang 1 year and 8-month-old baby boy. Tapos ang concern nila about food and feeding is that this baby only takes in milk. Pero nagtatry na sila mag-introduce ng semi-solids na hindi ko babanggitin ng brand. Pero yung ibang food na in-introduce din nila, mashed potatoes, carrots, sayote. Pero ang galing nitong batang to kasi kaya niya iluwa. So, paano gagawin nila? Ibig sabihin ba nun, ayaw na niya talaga yung mga food na in-introduce sa kanya?
All right. So I'll start with the spitting, Dr. Peace. Contrary to what we all think, spitting is actually expected in toddlers who are starting to learn about food. So pag sinubo nila, yun yung way nila na, okay, hindi ko masyadong type, kaya niya sinispit. But then it gives you another chance to try again the next time. So kung paano kayo mag-react dun sa spitting, also plays an important role. Kasi tuwing magsispit siya, pagkatapos grabe yung reaction nyo, baka gagawin niya yun ulit the next time para i-manipulate kayo.
Okay. So parang para ma-avoid yon.
Oo. So pag nag-spit siya, deadma lang. Nag-spit siya, okay, hindi niya masyadong type, it doesn't mean you stop. It means you try again next time.
Right. Doc Kaye, or maybe Save can help us answer this din, ano? So may isa rin tayong question. Ang gusto nilang tanungin, halimbawa, this is initially purely breastfed baby, pero 6 months, mag-introduce na tayo ng semi-solids, di ba? So ang tanong, okay lang ba na prepared baby pureed food, yung nabibili sa supermarket, ang una nating i-introduce sa babies? Tapos, ang question din, ano ba yung usual taste preference ng mga infants? So, tapos meron pa siyang dagdag. What are tastes that we can introduce to them na hindi masisira taste buds nila? So, minsan parang, di ba, decision point din for parents. Ano kaya una kong introduce dito sa batang to? Meron po ba kayong suggestions?
Yeah. So for with regards to parang baby food, no. So at around 6 months, it's a good time to introduce like very soft, semi-solid foods for babies. But as much as possible, parang gusto natin, Doc, kasi is to try and stick to something homemade, no? Because a lot of yung products na what we find on supermarkets or in supermarkets, usually kasi ano na sila, processed and pasteurized. So what I mean by processed is they eliminate all of the bacteria and all of the unnecessary things of the food to make the product that they have. No? But what we want kasi is all that fiber, all of the nutrients, and even at the age of 6 months, we want some of that good bacteria that we find in like home cooked meals
Right.
to try and parang help stimulate the gut of the kids.
So yung microbiome, no?
Yeah.
Dami babasa about that these days, no?
Actually, it's very important for the immunity and for the growth of the child.
Right. Okay. Sige, Doc Kay, balik tayo sa'yo.
Sige, add ko lang, Dr. P, dun sa taste. So, dun sa mga personal opinion, and this is based on the books I've read, it's really good to start with something na hindi aversive yung lasa, yung hindi masyadong mapakla or hindi kaagad masyadong maanghang. Kasi minsan, pag pangit yung memories kaagad nila dun sa pinakain mo, mas tataas yung chance na aversive yung reaction nila dun sa susunod mong ipapakain. So, start ka muna sa melon, at least neutral yung taste, yung mga ganon.
So, yung iba ang sinastart nila lugaw or rice. Pwede ba yon?
Pwede yon, basta siguraduhin lang na masustansya din yung lugaw. So, yun.
Sige, Doc Kay.
Also to add na lang din po. So, it's parang contrary to popular belief, hindi po nasisira yung taste buds, no? So as kids, kasi very sensitive lang po talaga ang tongues nila, ang sense of taste nila, kasi mas marami po silang taste buds kumpara sa pag tumatanda tayo. So it's best to start off nga po, tulad ng sabi ni Doc Kay, with very light flavored foods. So potatoes, kamote, vegetables, yung very mashable na food. So usually ito po yung mga madaling malunok and very light po sa taste.
Okay. And speaking of mashable food, may question tayo dito. What's your take on baby-led weaning?
Okay. So, let's delve into baby-led weaning
Ano
first.
ba muna yun? Baka kailangan natin explain pala, Doc Kay, no?
Okay. So yung baby-led weaning, ang thrust nila is that babies start to put things into their mouth at the age of 6 months old, no? Baby-led weaning also wants parents to be comfortable with gagging or yung parang naduduwal, no? And baby-led weaning encourages children to explore the foods on their own, but at the same time to specifically eat meals with the family. I think those are good things. Number one, eating with the family is at the heart of feeding talaga. Second, personally, and I've read books on this also, I think more than the exploring, you should be building on the feeding relationship, no? And for the gagging naman, gagging kasi it's a protective mechanism in our throats bago ka pa ma-choke. So yung gagging, in a way, it's important. Pero some studies have shown, pag lagi na lang sila nagagag kasi try ng kung ano-anong pagkain, minsan natotrauma din sila sa kakagag nila. And then lastly, yung danger lang ng baby-led weaning, lalo na kung hindi kayo trained with CPR, is meron talagang possibility na pwede silang mag-choke. Kasi baby-led weaning allows the child to really explore with different types of food, regardless.
Right. Siguro, ano lang, dagdag ko lang yung tip. Parang sinasabi nila, kailangan i-try ng parents kung malambot talaga. So, yung kaya yung sinabi ni Save kanina na mamash yung food. Ang sabi nila, parang kailangan daw, halimbawa kalabasa, pwede mo siyang kagatin with your lips. Yung parang, di ba, dinemo? Parang ganon, na hindi mo ginagamit yung teeth mo. Kasi pag lips daw yung ginamit mo, malambot siya enough for the baby to begin chewing on it, no? Yan.
Right, Dr. P. Yung kaya din may reason kung bakit iba-iba dapat yung lambot ng pagkain natin. Kasi yung development ng movement ng tongue natin, iba-iba din yon per age group. So yung galaw ng dila, minsan pag masyadong matigas yung pagkain, mas lalo silang nasasamid. Imbis na malunok nila ng maayos.
Okay.
Sige. Okay, so another thing about feeding is really to build your child's appetite throughout the day. Marami tayong naririnig na gutumin mo lang yan, okay lang yan. I think that's such a negative statement to say, no? Na although totoo din naman, pero I think the more positive way to put it is why don't you just build your child's appetite throughout the day? So look at this chart, no? kids really need 3 main meals and 1 to 2 snacks in between. So yung mga nasa green box, those are your main meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Tapos may 2 snack in between. But what's important is the interval in between meals. If you read different books, they'd say different things. Ang range is 2.5 to 4 hours. So bakit kailangan may interval? Because this is the time when your stomach digests the food, and this is the time when your body prepares your stomach for the next meal. Now, I call these eating time. In between ng eating time is what we call growing time. Ito yung time na papagurin nyo yung bata or i-ready nyo siya para gutom na siya for the next meal. So for example, ito, nag-breakfast siya ng 7, pinatulong mo siya maglinis ng bahay, ready na siya mag-light snack by the time 10 o'clock, no? And if patulong mo siya magluto ng lunch, mas magugutom pa siya, and then ready na siya talagang kumain ng lunch. In between, ideally, walang snack. So kaya may water dyan kasi you can actually offer water in between meals.
Tubig lang, Doc Kaye, yung pwede.
Ideally, sana walang snacks in
Paano
between.
yung mga bata na sinasabi ng parents nila, kailangan niyang uminom ng milk? Or kasi nagdanap siya dito, kailangan mag-milk siya. Pero wala dito sa schedule na yon.
So, depende yan sa age, Doc Tippy, diba? So, yung milk, pagtungtong nila ng toddler, mas kailangan na nila ng nutrients ng totoong pagkain kasi kulang na yung nutrition na binibigay ng milk. So, kung nandun kayo sa point na milk pa lang talaga yung kinakain niya, pwedeng i-space ninyo yung milk muna, and then or bawasan ninyo yung serving ng milk, or offer the real food first, and then yung milk pang salo lang yon kung konti lang yung kinakain niyang totoong pagkain.
Okay. Doc, meron tayong isang question dito, no? So, while we're talking about milk. So, ang question niya, meron siyang 12-month-old son who is breastfeeding. So, very good si mommy, nagbo-breastfeed. And then, he's good with solids, but he doesn't want to drink milk from his bottle. So, ang question is, paano natin ita-transition tong bata from breastfeeding to drinking from a cup, yung cup feeding ng milk? May tips ka ba for that?
Okay. So, I'll go to breastfeeding first, no? Breastfeeding, sinasabi nila hindi mo naman yan kailangan i-stop ng abruptly. May iba nga ini-extend nila until the age of 2 years old, no? So, yung breastfeeding kasi minsan, ginagamit na lang ng child para maglambing sa'yo. It's not really because they're hungry. So, just like offering milk in a cup, I would suggest, kunyari time na for feeding, magpakain ka muna ng totoong pagkain bago mo i-offer yung breast mo. So by the time mabigay mo yung breast mo, medyo busog na siya. Kasi minsan lambing na lang nila talaga yung pag-breastfeed nila eh.
Yeah.
So maybe like to add to that, Dr. P also.
Or kasi parang ang tanong din ni Mami is paano ko introduce ang cup to feed? Kasi 'di ba parang like yung iba parang iniisip na pag nag-breastfeed ako, kailangan ko siya idaan sa bottle bago ako mag-cup. So, do you have parang suggestions na hindi na ako magbo-bottle at all, ididiretso ko na siya sa cup?
Okay, hindi requirement na mag-transition ka pa sa bottle. Walang ganon. Pwedeng from breastfeeding straight ka na sa baso. So, wag na po kayong ma-pressure, hindi naman requirement na lumipat pa siya sa bottle. So, how do you teach them how to cup feed? You can actually mag-start kayo na nagpo-pour kayo ng liquids when they're helping you in the kitchen, and then modeling, nakikita nila talaga kayong umiinom from the glass.
And then siguro yung mess, 'di ba? Parang sa start maliligo 'yan. Pero 'di ba we just tolerate it muna kung i-introduce pa lang natin, no?
Tama. And then, para hindi rin magkalat, gumamit muna kayo ng maliliit na glasses, yung mga shot glass, doon kayo magsimula mag-practice.
Pwede din. Shot glass, ha?
Shot glass na plastic.
Okay.
So, yun.
Yeah.
Alright, ipapasa ko naman to kay Save. Save, it's your turn.
Alright, hello again. So yeah, we were talking about building appetites, no? But what exactly about the meals are we trying to build up towards? So I wanted to talk about a balanced diet, No? So more often than not, we usually hear na parang magda-diet ako or this diet, that diet, and all of the other trending ones that we hear nowadays. But what we really want to do is have something very balanced. So like Doc Kaye said a while ago, there's no good food or no bad food. No. So it's very important that we stress that any food, parang all of the food that's available to us that we can afford to buy and we enjoy eating, there's nothing wrong with that. But what we really want to achieve is something balanced between foods that are high in nutritional quality and foods that we enjoy eating. So it's finding that one sweet spot in between that is actually the foundation for proper nutrition. So we don't have to necessarily go full plant-based, or we don't necessarily have to go full on the other side of the spectrum naman. What we want to do is have something in the middle. So it's okay to have like snacks that you enjoy eating, like potato chips or soft drinks once in a while. But what's important is that you also match
Well,
that
once in a while lang yun, no?
once
Safe.
in a while, once in a while.
Not for every meal.
Not for every meal. So it's important nga to match that with something of high quality naman. So you can choose to have this and you can choose to have that. But we want is to have something sustainable, no? So if we look at the plate here, what we call this is the healthy eating plate. So if you guys remember yung mga lessons natin sa grade school, ano lang siya, go, grow, and glow.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at this plate, you can technically categorize it into those three things also. So glow foods, those are our vegetables and fruits. So if you look at it, it technically comprise parang half ng meal natin, no? Go foods, which are grains or carbohydrates, and also the healthy oils and the fats. So ito po yung mga ginagamit natin sa pagluto, ito po yung mga avocado, para mga ganyan po. And
Yeah.
then grow foods, so which are the proteins, yung mga galing sa animal sources. So meat, fish, eggs, chicken, beef, pork. And yung isa po na hindi talaga na-highlight na very important ay water. So napansin niyo po sa slide before, pinag-uusapan ni Doc Kaye na in between snacks, no, nag-offer tayo ng water. It's because it's very easy to overlook our water intake, lalo na as adults and more so pag children tayo. So there are so many ways ngayon na parang we're stuck at home, di ba? To lose water that we don't notice. So every time we exhale, we lose water, and then lalo na ngayon mainit, palagi na tayong pinapawisan, so we lose a lot more water. So it's very important, no, that we keep that intake, kasi that also helps us push through to maximize the food that we eat.
See,
And yeah.
can you comment on the size of the plate? Kasi di
Oh,
ba,
okay.
halimbawa, I have a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
Parang bibigyan ko ba siya isang buong plato ng food and expect him to finish it?
Okay, so for like preschool age children, so that's like 2 to 3 to around 4, no? For the day, usually they eat not as much as us, so that's around parang 1.5 to 2.5 cups of rice for the whole day na yan. And then roughly around 2 portions, or like 2 cups of like gulay and fruits, and then also roughly the same amount of parang mga protein or yung mga ulam natin. It's very important then to note na there's no special food for young kids, no? So at the start, when you start introducing food to them from 6 months all the way to their adolescence, you should try and keep in mind na yung food that you offer them is also the food that's commonly found at home and the food that the family commonly eats.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to go out of your way to parang make something special for them. Actually, it's more beneficial if you stick to something na is very similar and very familiar to what they see from the day to day.
So yung family food, no?
Yeah. Okay. And then, so what we wanted to do next is part of a balanced diet is actually, you add on to that is to eat a variety of food, so a varied diet. So what we typically tell parents is to eat the colors of the rainbow. So well, there are like different levels to why we say that. No, so the first reason of why we say that is because we want a wide variety of foods. So a wider variety of foods means that we hit more nutrients and we hit different minerals that aren't found in other foods. So parang mix and matching siya. Yeah. And then the next one is to actually, parang habol natin for the colors of the rainbow are the antioxidants that we find in the different, in the skins of the different colored fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
So pag nakita nyo po dito, it's like blue, green, yellow, orange. So all of these actually provide different forms of antioxidants. and and they're also very good sources of fiber that parang help the body in maximizing the potential of the use of their systems. No?
So meron akong isang question no, from the chat box. Parang, do you have a list of recommended food per age group?
Oh, okay. So I wouldn't say there's a list of recommended food or like a list of food that you should follow per age group. Again, like I said a while ago, it's really more of a matter of having them adjust to the food at home and to the food that's parang within their culture. No? And along with that naman comes with changing the proportions of it.
Right.
And as they age, kasi as kids age, food is something more of like an identity. So it's something that they will enjoy at some point, and then something that they will drop at another point. So it's very normal in the life cycle of parang liking and disliking food, that kids will suddenly like something and then next day they won't, and the next day they will. So when it comes to that, it's really just parang going with the flow.
Right. Tapos siguro add ko lang, no, yung preparation will really vary per age group. Diba? Like if you were talking about a 6-month-old, i-introduce mo pa lang yung semi-solids, then talagang pureed or mashed yung food. Diba? Versus kalabasa for a 3-year-old, pwede ng chunks talaga kasi you expect them to chew and, diba, chew it well before swallowing.
Yeah, and actually varying the textures helps them accept different foods, no, and helps them become less picky the more you expose them to different things.
Okay. So, talking about picky, meron tayong question dito. So, most of the kids, when at an early age, ayaw nila ng food. So, ang tanong is, ano po ba meron sa food at ayaw nila ng food?
Yeah, so going back to what we said a while ago, it parang baka po masyadong matapang yung lasa. Possible po na ayaw nila yung texture. Or like Doc Kaye said a while ago, there could be something deeper rooted na is causing that dislike for food. Pero like all new things kasi, it's also a big shock to the toddler or to the child when you introduce something new. That's why we want to try and keep it slow and steady. And if they don't like it, that's okay, as long as parang we just keep at it. No?
Doc, may gusto ka ba idagdag?
So yung sinabi na bakit ano nga ba yung meron sa food, bakit ayaw nila. Hindi naman natin siya ma-generalize sa lahat kasi meron din talagang mga bata na ang sarap-sarap nilang kumain. So we'll go into, we have a specific slide for that. Papakita ko po ano yung mga posibleng rason kung bakit iba yung reaction nila doon sa pagkain.
Okay. Ito may question din tayo. Di ba nagbigay tayo muna ng list of food. Pero anong tingin nyo yung sa toddlers na kailangan meron silang dessert? Nandun ba yun sa different colors of food? Parang, di ba, hindi mo matatapos yung meal ko. Actually, pati adults ganon, di ba? Parang, hindi mo matatapos yung meal ko until I have something sweet or meron akong dessert after my meal. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so for desserts, I think it depends on what type of dessert. No?
Chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake.
Very specific. Hindi ko nga alam, dark chocolate cake ba to? Pero nakalagay. Pero small amounts. Quantify naman. Small amounts of chocolate-based dessert sa end of the meal. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so initially I would think na it's not necessarily bad, no? So small amounts, having them taste it is actually good because you're exposing them to different textures, to different flavors.
Paano kung yung small amount ganito kalaki?
Yeah, there. So that's what we want to watch out for, diba? Okay. So kung malaki siya, then I would say no. But if it's something like a spoonful, like a teaspoon lang, parang just having them taste it and to expose them to it. See, there's nothing wrong with that. But what we want to avoid is an excess of that. So, again, like a balanced diet, a balanced way of eating is key. So try and parang match it na lang. Kasi kung maliit pa sila, ibig sabihin, mas maliit din yung proportions nila. Hindi yung parang equal to what we usually eat.
Sige. Okay.
So, just in addition to the sugar, di ba sabi nila dapat at least less than 25 grams for kids yung total sugar intake for the day. So, parang 6 teaspoons yan in a day, not more than that, no? So, you have to understand that we also get sugar from different sources. So, kung malaking slice ng cake yun, parang yun yung sugar requirement mo.
Buong araw na yun.
Oo.
Okay.
So yon. Itong slide na to, I specifically placed this slide because I get a lot of questions from parents asking, paano ba nagiging picky eater, no? So let's start here sa predisposition. They actually discovered a gene for picky eating. So pwedeng namana po nila. Second, merong mga kids na meron talaga silang medical conditions that predispose them to picky eating.
Ano example nun?
Kids with severe allergies, kunyari, Doc Tippy, ito medyo technical, pero kunyari, eosinophilic esophagitis.
Ako at yan.
Yun yung marami silang eosinophils sa esophagus nila na pag lumunok sila ng pagkain, sobrang nagre-react, naduduwal sila.
Para may allergy yung esophagus nila sa loob.
Sa loob. Akala mo ay ayaw lang niya yung pagkain, yun pala may medical na nangyayari. Kids with heart conditions, mas hinihingal sila pag kumakain sila. So things like that. And ito, yung mga nabanggit ko kanina, pag pangit yung relationship, pangit yung attachment, attunement. Ibig sabihin, trabaho ng trabaho yung parents, iniiwan lang yung bata kumain either mag-isa sa harap ng TV or pinapakain ng yaya pero yung yaya nanonood din ng TV, then that attachment, attunement, becomes really dysregulated. Tapos walang knowledge about food. So pangit yung memories tsaka exposure about food. And then there's optimal development.
Bago ka umalis sabi dito authoritative parenting style. So importante pala yung parenting. Can you elaborate on ano ba yung authoritative parenting?
Okay. So may 4 na klaseng parenting styles. Yung una, ito yung authoritarian. Ito yung ako ang boss, dominanteng magulang. Second is yung indulgent na magulang. Ito yung, sige anak, bigay ko lahat ng gusto mo. And then yung pangatlo naman, yung walang pakialam. Yung dead malang bahala ka na sa buhay mo. And then fourth is what we call the authoritative. Ito yung balance na stricto siya, pero at the same time, mapagbigay din siya na parent. Studies have shown that if your parenting style is very dominant, very authoritarian, or very indulgent or negligent, it also can add on or aggravate feeding difficulties in children.
Okay. So dapat sakto lang yung parenting style.
Lang, oo. So yon. And then optimal development. So if you look here, I wrote down good posture at meal times and strong motor movement. So I'll go to the next slide na Dr. P. So kids who are born with weak muscle tone, ito yung malalambot, or spastic naman yung muscles like kids with cerebral palsy, for example, who also have weak oral motor skills like kids with Down syndrome. These things predispose them to feeding difficulties. Kids who are traumatized, those who have bad memories with feeding, yung na-force feed, yung bang talagang sinusubo yung kutsara, kulang na lang hanggang sa lalamunan na talaga. They form really bad memories with feeding. Kids who have been intubated can also form bad memories with feeding.
Or yung pinilit mo bigyan ng gamot, 'di ba? Yung mga antibiotic na mapait and
Yes. So, and then, of course, poor feeding habits. So, diba, I'm sure you've heard that learning is fastest in the first 3 years of life. Sabi ko nga kanina, dito sila nagpo-form ng habits. So, kung ang habit na fino-form mo, parating may TV, pag haharap ang pagkain, tinitraining mo siya na kumain ka, dapat may TV. So, then you form bad habits early. And then on the last column, you see sensory food aversions. You see this in kids with autism. Kids with autism, meron silang tinatawag na sensory processing disorder. Ibig sabihin, kung paano nila basahin yung mga bagay na pumapasok sa 5 senses nila, medyo iba, no? Kung din sa pagkain, it's either, kunyari, kumain tayo ng broccoli. Sa atin, okay lang yung lasa. But for kids with autism, ano na yon, parang matalim na sa dila nila or iba yung basa nila dun sa pagkain. So, nagko-contribute din siya. And then lastly, I already mentioned medical problems in children.
Okay, I have a question lang, no? So we were talking about poor feeding habits. So may question tayo. Hi, Teacher Lala. So question for Teacher Lala. Is it okay ba na habulin yung bata habang pinapakain? So halimbawa, naglalaro sila, tapos lakad ng lakad, tapos yung parent or yung yaya or yung lola, habulin yung bata para pakainin. Para lang, kasi minsan sinasabi ni lola, hindi, para lang mapakain, habulin ko na. Okay ba yun?
Okay. So, hindi okay yon. Didiretsuhin ko na hindi siya okay. Ang unang tanong doon, bakit ba siya tayo ng tayo sa lamesa? Dahil ba, baka pinapakain nyo dahil busog? Kumbaga umupo kayo, hindi naman siya gutom. Pangalawa, kaya na ba talaga niyang umupo? No? Or pangatlo, bad habits na sana yung bata na hinahabol siya. So, sa
Akala niya game.
akala niya game. So, yun yung gagawin niya lagi. So, yun.
Okay.
So for kids with really, really are feeding disorders like this, then a multi-disciplinary approach to feeding is best. Kasi alam mo naman, may kanya-kanya tayong knowledge din and expertise. So if you put, all brains together, it's actually more beneficial for the child.
Right. Doc Kay, i-relate ko yan sa isang case ha, kasi may tanong tayo dito. So, ang sabi ni mommy siguro to, my son has autism and he's 4 years old. So, ang hirap pakainin and would gag every time he sees food that's not familiar to him. So, how do we deal this problem? So, can you tell us the role of all of these parang professionals when we try to address yung feeding issues of this 4-year-old child?
All right. So let's say I'll use that case, Dr. P. So let's say the child has autism, he's 4 years old and gags with food. So that's a classic example of a sensory aversion to food, no? So the occupational therapist, na dito siya sa Allied Health, itong pink na circle, the occupational therapist's expertise is really to address sensory processing problems in children. Now, kids with autism also have motor difficulties. Sila yung pangit yung core strength. Sila yung mga nakaukot habang kumakain. So the physical therapist can help with that. And if this child has weak oral motor muscles, the speech therapist can help with strengthening that also. Ngayon, merong mga bata na maraming behavioral problems, merong mga na-trauma, doon papasok yung psychologist. And because we don't just eat at home, we eat also in school, then it's also good to partner with a school teacher in terms of, yung goals. It cuts across all settings.
Right. So, ibig sabihin ba nun, kung nandito yung team na yan, wala nang role ang parents? Anong role na gagawin dapat ng parents dito?
So malaki yung role ng parents kasi sa bahay sila. And yung nakita ninyo yung timeline natin kanina, it really starts at home. No? Yes, it takes a village to raise a child, but that raising starts in the home. So, and then yung nutritionist, save, hindi kita kakalimutan, yung nutritionist, siya yung nagpaplano, siya yung tumutulong sa amin, explain namin yung food chaining, kung anong magandang meals na pwedeng isuggest sa parents, tsaka ano yung nutritional content ng meals na yon. So, yun. So, Save, I'll pass this on to you.
Yeah, okay. So a while ago, the question a while ago diba, was there's a negative reaction to new food.
Mm-hmm.
Diba? So one of the less invasive ways, or one of the ones that take it at the child's pace, the methods that we use, is something called food chaining. No? So this is usually a guided process that involves transitioning from one familiar food, and then our goal is to expand it into different forms, or into a wider variety rather. Like Doc Kay said a while ago, a lot of children with autism have sensory aversions. So they process things differently, and sometimes they process it in a negative way that we don't notice. Diba? It could be as simple as parang gagging, but from one of the other therapists that I got to know, he explained that when he attended a seminar once, there was a testament from a high-functioning child with autism that said na whenever he tried new foods, it would feel like sunburn on his tongue. So there's a wide spectrum on how they actually process it, but they don't necessarily know how to express it. Right? So for food chaining, if you look at the slide, or if you look at the first picture, it mentions like chocolate chip cookies. So let's say they're fixated on chocolate chip cookies. That's the one they always want to eat. They will throw a fit if they don't have it, and then they're locked onto a specific brand. So the goal of food chaining is to be able to expose them to a new taste, or a new texture, or a new form. So that's where we started out. So we ask the parents usually, where would they rather start? Let's say if they like one specific brand of chocolate chips, will we ask them, is it easier for you to buy a different brand and then mix that in? So we start slow, even if it's just one piece or one bite. Or is it okay for you to buy or to make it at home and then try that? And then later on, we'll try and from like chocolate chip cookie, we'll try an oatmeal chocolate chip cookie. So we're gonna change the texture naman. And then after that, we'll try and make it into like a granola bar with chocolate chips. And then from a granola bar, we just make it grounded granola. We like shred it up, and then we still put some chocolate chips. So again, like, if you see the process, it's very step by step.
Yeah.
But the one thing to notice here is, like Doc Kaye said a while ago, when it's dealing with exposure to new foods, it's going to take 25 to like 50 times before it sticks. No, so it is as much of a test in tenacity. It's also a big test in parang patience of the parent, especially when it comes to not making a big deal, especially if they don't like the food, hindi nila kinakain, tapos may feeling nyo parang sayang lang yung effort, sayang lang yung pera. But don't think about the end goal just yet. Think about parang what you want to do is have them dip their toe in the pool para hindi sila mabigla when they try new things. Diba? So it helps them figure out their own way of parang processing these new things in a way that doesn't make them more violent or in a way that they can express. So eventually, yung goal natin is to transition from one end to like, let's say, example naman, fried chicken. Or our goal is for like fried chicken into like a tuna salad sandwich. So what you'll do is like fried chicken, and then you'll do like a roasted chicken, and then from a roasted chicken, you'll do like a chicken salad. So there, it's step by step, and then from then on, ito parang click slowly.
Right. So parang may one feature ka lang siguro na pinapalit
Yes,
at a
yes.
time, right?
Yung best way to describe it is you choose one between changing the taste, changing the texture, or parang changing the type of food or the type of recipe. And then from there, you parang map your way. And then if one doesn't work, you can always switch to another one, and then you can always try another one. So you're never out of options. You just really need to keep at it.
Yeah. Save may question dito. Can you do food chaining with bottled milk?
Yes. So with bottle, it depends. Then, kasi if they're using a bottle because it's a swallowing issue or a chewing issue. So when this happens, like the multidisciplinary approach a while ago, I'll work hand in hand with OTs and PTs with regards to parang fixing the mechanism of how they chew and swallow. Along the lines, parang I'll support them with the type of food that they'll use. Parang ganyan siya. So for like let's say bottle feeding, you can switch to if they're fixated on the texture of the bottle's nipple, they can switch out to siguro a firmer nipple first, and then they'll switch out to cup. So slowly, again, there it's the texture, it's the sensation. So we'll shift from that into one form, and then if they really like milk, it's like mixing water with it. So half it, parang one eighth, one fourth, and then slowly you'll parang wean it off.
Right. So food chaining is an example of a technique, di ba, to introduce
Yes.
new food. Meron tayong isang question dito na they have a child who would rather pick through food. So kung may food siya, kakain siya, pero konti-konti lang, or okay, one subo and then takbo na siya. And would only eat either through games or through screen time. So aside from food chaining, are there other techniques? Maybe Doc K then or could pitch in, no? So parang are there other techniques that these parents could do para hindi puro games and screen time during feeding time?
Siguro ako I would suggest is for them to number one, review your child's mealtime schedule first. Kasi i-check nyo lang kung 2.5 to 4 hours ba yung interval in between meals, walang snacking in between, gutom ba talaga siya? That's number one. And then second, may kasabay ba siyang kumain or wala? Kasi minsan pag wala sila talagang kasabay, mas gusto nila yung TV. And then third, have you ever tried letting this child help out in the kitchen, or have you ever talked to them about food? So maybe you can try those. And then last resort, kung ayaw pa din talaga, slowly nyo lang tanggalin yung TV or yung gadgets. Kunyari, wag nyo munang i-on or i-onin. Kunyari, isang oras siya naka-on, i-on nyo lang ng 40 minutes muna, pabawas ng pabawas hanggang 10 minutes na lang siya naka-on.
Mm-mm.
If I can also add, no, so it's also a look into parang the family dynamics of the mealtime.
Ano ibig sabihin nun?
Yeah, so parang for an example na lang, when I was growing up, parang whenever we'd have a big family meal with my grandparents, rule is TV is off kasi my TV is a dining room. And then it's encouraged na parang they talk to the child or they engage them in the conversation, no? So part of the reason why, like Doc Kaye said, if mag-isa lang siya or if they find the mealtime boring, they're not going to be as invested or as engaged in it as much as the family is. So it also helps to parang have a firm hand pero also an understanding one when it comes to trying to tackle these things. No?
Yeah. Okay. Or mabuti siguro tanggalin nyo yung TV
Mm.
from the dining area.
Yeah.
Diba?
So,
Oo.
may iba po kung patients, Doc Tippy, talagang cold turkey, talagang tinanggal nila talaga yung TV. So, yung iba hindi na nagreklamo na sanay na lang. Yung iba talagang naging away. So, depende rin sa bata.
Okay. Sige. Doc Kay, bago tayo mag-go to the, yung next portion. Actually, malapit na yung time natin matapos. Pero sige, kasi maganda pa yung topic. So, meron bang therapy na for eating disorders talaga or eating difficulties or feeding difficulties? Meron bang therapy that will deal specifically on that issue?
Actually, meron, no? So, kahit dito sa atin, meron talagang mga eating disorders clinic. Ang usually nag-handle niyan, mga child and adolescent psychiatrists, no? Yun. So, it usually nagma-manifest siya with adolescents. So, yes, there is. Yun.
Yeah. Pero halimbawa, yung mga feeding difficulties natin in young kids, sino kaya yung ideal na person to refer to them?
You mean, Dr. P, not the anorexia nervosa and the
Hindi.
bulimia, no?
Parang
Ah.
feeding difficulties. Actually, eating disorder yung tanong. So, if it's eating disorder, child and adolescent psychiatrists, no? But let's say a child with autism who has some difficulty feeding.
All right. So, feeding difficulties in children and adolescents, you can actually bring them to the feeding clinic. We have one at MedMom. And yung management niya, ang difference kapag older kids, dahil mas nag-iisip na sila tsaka mas nagde-desisyon na sila, pwede nyo silang bigyan ng choices. Pero same principles yung nag-a-apply. Sometimes, kailangan ng help ng psychologist, no? Kasi minsan may cognitive behavioral part na kailangan mo din sila talagang kausapin. And then, katulad din ng sabi ko with younger kids, the occupational therapy, sometimes the speech, they also need to come in.
Right.
So same but with a higher cognitive approach, kumbaga.
So, kumbaga, kailangan mo rin bagayan yung anong age, no?
Oh,
Yung developmental stage ng bata.
Mm.
Ito, siguro, bibilisan lang natin kasi malapit ng time's up natin. So, some quarantine tips?
Yeah. Okay. So siguro this is more streamlined to how we can best manage our food at home, no? And how we go about our marketing. So one of the first few things that we did here sa house namin, or at least my dad took the initiative of doing, was to come up with a list of the food items that we have on hand. So we know what we need to buy and what we want to prioritize prior to going to the groceries. So para siyang first in, first out. So whatever we bought before, yun yung una namin gagamitin. Kasi as food ages, the nutritional quality will also tend to decrease. So what we want to do is have like as much of the fresh food as possible that we used, and we want to maximize that. So yeah, you just have to look around your house. It takes some time though. Check what you have, check what you don't have. List the stuff you normally use. So that's like rice, cooking oil, salt, all of the different spices, and like the common things you eat, like chicken, beef, pork. And then list of the foods that you commonly eat. So included here are like snacks, some food is a very big source of morale. So especially now during a stressful time, it's very important to have foods that you enjoy eating. So again, it's not bad to buy like chips or some candies. It's just you have to manage the amount you eat at a given time. So everything in moderation.
If they don't buy. Kasi
It's
not in the house, hindi kakainin niya ng
Yeah, so let's take it back to kids with sensory aversions, no, or fixations on food. So it's both a blessing and a curse because one is you can't buy the food that they're fixated on. So if it's chips or chocolates or what, you can't buy it. So it's out of sight, out of mind. Pero two is you can't buy it, so baka magdabog sila. So you just have to find like a nice mix of parang pacing it out and then parang making the best out of a bad situation. So moving on to like when you go to the groceries and what you want to buy, what we want to do is prioritize fresh and whole foods. No? So fresh foods means as much as possible, as little processed as possible. So if you're going to buy like beef or chicken, so it's the uncooked ones, the different cuts, different fresh fruits, dried fruits, um, nuts, seeds, or beans. No, so a lot of these things keep really well actually. So a lot of fresh fruits, the ones with the thicker peels, so like watermelons, oranges, pineapples. These keep for a few days or to a few weeks as long as you store them properly. For vegetables, root crops and frozen vegetables are actually very good sources of. I find have a very good shelf life. So root crops, especially when you keep them in your pantry in a cool, dry place. That's kamote, potatoes, ginger, onions, calabasa, all of these things, no? And frozen vegetables like frozen carrots, frozen peas, frozen corn. Again, what we want to keep in mind is the colors of the rainbow. So having these different frozen vegetables on hand will also help you meet those goals. And for the beans and noodles, so you can have like pasta or dried oats, dried beans that you just have to soak overnight. So it's also a nice way to learn how to figure out new recipes and try new things. And these keep really well as long as you keep them in like a airtight glass jar in a cool and dry place. And then for meats, the shelf life of meat greatly depends on how processed it is. No, so ground meats, the shelf life of ground meats are significantly lower than like a chunk of beef. So for ground meats, it's usually 3 to 4 months from when you buy them in from the supermarket. For bigger cuts, it usually lasts for 4 to 12 months. No? Um, for eggs, they typically last 3 to 5 weeks according to the U.S. food safety guidelines. But typically in our country, because it's so humid and it's so hot, it's best to consume them within 2 weeks. So they last for roughly 2 weeks in the refrigerator.
Save my question lang dito.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that frozen fruits are better than fresh when you're buying them at the grocery. Reason behind it is that those fresh fruits are actually harvested before they are even ripe. So, yeah, is that true?
Well, if they're frozen, they're usually harvested when they're ripe, because freezing them kind of puts a hold onto their aging process. No? It's like a pause button. But I would always suggest na it's better to buy fresh, mainly because if it's been frozen, that means it's been processed. It's gone through like a process, a disinfection process, which is necessary to keep it fresh and to keep it safe. But again, what we want is sometimes the skin or the different fibers of the fruits. So they are also affected then by the treatment.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's okay to buy fresh and frozen or dried, but just keep in mind that it's finding like a different balance between all of those, because they each have something they're good in, and they each have something that they lack. So it's always a mix and a match. Um, and then with all of these food that we're buying, to keep in mind, it's best to remember that you don't overcrowd your refrigerator. So what we want ideally, kasi it's around less than 4 for your refs and then less than 17 for your freezers. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and then if you look at the image on top, this is ideally how we're supposed to stack our refrigerators now. So the first two shelves, those are really more of whatever, like salad, different bottled foods that you keep, so like your butter to your cheese and whatnot. On the last shelf, ideally, that's where you thaw your meat to expose them as little as possible to bacteria in the air. So it's a slow thaw. You can go about it two ways. You can do this, a slow thaw, or you can try putting it under cold running water and then cooking it as soon as it's thawed out. And then the last one, so ito yung drawer sa ref natin. So that's for the crispers. That's where you put all your fruits and vegetables to keep them fresh as long as possible. And then keep in mind lang din, to avoid spoilage, we kind of want to make sure everything is clean before we start cooking or we start storing them. So your container should be clean, your cooking utensils should be clean. Cross-contamination is when we end up mixing different meats on a single surface. So when you parang cut up your beef, ideally you shouldn't put fish on top of it or vice versa. And that goes for chicken, beef, and pork also. So what we want to do is have like, ideally we have separate chopping boards for them to, because they all have different bacteria that get killed at different ways, and some don't die at temperatures that the other gets cooked at. Sorry, am I making sense?
Yeah,
And
makes sense
then
naman.
yeah.
Pero ito may question din. Di ba parang you told us about thawing your food. And ang question dito, safe ba yung na-freeze ulit yung food na na-defrost na?
No, it's not. So once your food is defrosted, that think about it as being exposed na din to the environment. So as soon as you defrost it, ideally you should cook it. One is because the quality will go down, parang texture and your nutrient quality niya. We have this thing called vitamin leaching or nutrient leaching. So that's when food gets thawed out for an excessive time, and then all of the water-soluble vitamins and minerals leach out na. Kasi parang nasama siya sa tubig na got thawed out. Yeah. So that liquid is very susceptible to bacteria kasi it's filled with like vitamins and minerals, and parang it's an environment for bacteria to grow kasi.
Yeah, but so do you cook that liquid?
No, I would drain it na. So when you defrost, you make sure you drain the liquid that thaws out and then just cook it like normal.
Right.
So ideally, you cook it as soon as you thaw it to minimize that. No?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then, so what to cook? It basically depends on the family. So each family has different dishes that they like preparing. But what a good practice would be is to have like soups and stews that can be easily frozen and easily stored.
Yeah.
So you can do like mongo, or you can do parang different beef stews, different bean stews. These store really well, and when you reheat them, parang same quality siya as when you first cook them. Sometimes mas masarap pa. Ideally, you want to avoid stuff that dry out. So parang mga chicken, mga fried chicken, or stuff like that. That parang decrease in quality as they're exposed to air.
Right.
Yeah.
Sige. And sabi mo rin dito, di ba, be creative.
Yeah, so be creative. I'd like to think of cooking as like an experiment. So you do things that you think you like, and then if it fails, parang it's a learning experience. I'd say now that food becomes a little bit more limited, it's a very good chance to explore with same ingredients but different spices.
Mm-mm.
So different spices also are a good source of antioxidants. So they also count towards the colors of the rainbow.
Right.
So yeah, it's like a nice way to, and they keep really well. So it's a nice way to spice things up and to change your parang pace in eating.
Right. So parang be creative, important din yan when you're feeding young children. Diba? Kailangan maganda yung itsura or fun yung preparation natin.
Yeah, it helps if you're introducing new food to para make it in different shapes, so like stars or like different circles or flowers. That might help kids entice children to play with it more or to mouth and to try it out.
Right. Sige. Siguro we have time for one last question. Ito, Doc, gusto ko sanang malaman din yung opinion mo, no? So, ang question natin, okay lang bang piliting ibuka ang bibig ng baby para mapakain siya? Kasi ayaw niya ibuka ng kusa ang bibig niya kapag pinapakain. Sometimes naiiyak ang baby kapag ganun ang ginagawa. Pero kapag naisubo na niya ang food, bigla niya niluluwa. So, anong suggestion nyo para buksan niya yung mouth niya or mapakain yung baby? Any suggestions, Doc?
Okay. So, Mami, balik lang ako dito sa slide na to. 'Di ba, feeding is a social event and dapat good memories yung maiparating natin dun sa bata. So, imagine niyo na lang po na ginagawa sa inyo na kayo po yung binubuka yung bibig at pinipilit ipasok yung kutsara, hindi ho maganda yung memories na na-create natin with the child, no? So, may suggestion.
Diba? Parang masakit yata yun.
Oo. So may suggestion with that, Mommy, again. So I'll go back to this kasi maraming patients talaga it goes back to gutom ba sila or hindi. So Mommy, check mo muna kamusta ba yung spacing ng meal times. May time, yung pag umupo ba kayo, gutom na ba talaga siya? Baka kaya mo kailangan pilitin kasi hindi pa talaga siya gutom. Okay. Second, ano yung kinakain niya? Kasi kung yung kinakain naman niya, papasok naman dito sa healthy plate, baka hindi mo naman kailangan pilitin, di ba? Or ano ba yung portion ng kinakain niya? Baka sakto lang naman para sa edad niya na hindi mo na kailangan ipilit pa yung sobra. So ano yung straightforward na answer doon? Hindi po ako nag-agree na pinipilit kahit sinong bata kumain because it goes against all the principles feeding the developmental process.
Okay.
So yun.
So, siguro yun yung last question natin for tonight, no? But before we end our Wednesday webinar, siguro any last words that you want to share? Sino kaya una? Sige, siguro si Xavier muna. Any last words, Xav?
Yeah, I think for feeding, sometimes it goes two ways now. Sometimes people don't make a big deal out of it, or sometimes people make too much of a big deal out of it. I think it's so personal that sometimes we don't notice the things that we eat or the things that we do during our meals. No? So it's very important to parang it's a nice mindfulness experience um, to try and notice the little things that we're doing that and know the things that we want to improve. So it could be as simple as drinking more water to trying out new fruits and vegetables. And the same goes then for the family. So parang we want to be able to set the example as a family and then be able to parang keep it up as a family then.
Sige, thank you, Xav. Doki, any last words for our audience?
Siguro ako, I just want to emphasize that feeding is meant to be a sociable and enjoyable event. So dapat yung memories natin with feeding, parang mga Pilipino, yung fiesta natin, dapat masaya siya. No, that's number one. And then second, kung meron man pong problema yung child ninyo with feeding, kailangan po nating ungkatin kung bakit. Kasi lagi pong merong rason kung bakit at saka may solusyon po yun. May corresponding na solusyon. So,
sige, nako, marami kaming natutunan. Thank you, Xavier. Thank you, Dr. K. So, to our viewers, maraming salamat po. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for joining us. Natutuwa po kami sa dami ng questions na raise ngayong gabi, no? So, hopefully, we journey together during this lockdown time. At siguro po, join us again next week when we have our next session on MedMom Wednesday webinars. So, good night, everybody. Ingat po tayong lahat.
Thank you.
bye-bye.